QFM with John Lennon and the man and his music.
This is Mike Deason. While local radio stations paid musical tribute to John Lennon, concert promoter and radio station owner Gene Loving reminisced about the Beatles, who he first met in 1963 after trying to bring them here for a concert date. The concert couldn't be arranged, but Loving was invited to Washington to spend a day with the group.
John just was exuding personality. He couldn't do enough for you. He was anxious to do interviews. We took a lot of crazy pictures, and John was, I would say, the more enthusiastic of the four.
During that visit, Loving became good friends with George Harrison's sister, who subsequently invited him to go to England several months later to spend more time with the group. By then, Loving noticed Lennon had become cynical and pessimistic.
It was as though, in a very short period of time, the excitement of the Beatles was starting to wear thin with him.
Loving encountered the Beatles one more time when he was invited to Bermuda while the group was making the movie Help. According to Loving, Lennon had become even more dour.
John was, I think, very much resigned to the fact that eventually the Beatles would break up. He would try to make up some answer that really had no relationship to whatever you were asking him. And usually Paul was sitting there and he'd say, well, now, John, you know, you got to be straight. People are listening out there.
Loving was hoping to bring Lennon to Virginia this spring and was working on booking him before he left work Monday night.
And it was like the last thing I did about 6 o'clock last night. And this morning when I got up and turned on the radio and heard that he had been shot, I just couldn't believe it.
Although John Lennon is dead and nothing can change that fact, those who were affected by him and the Beatles can take comfort in the fact that his music will live on forever. Mike Deason, Area 10 Eyewitness News.
You say goodbye, and I say hello. Hello, hello. Don't know why you say goodbye, I say hello.
In Norfolk, they came to pay their respects, to pray and comfort one another, and to take part in what was already shaping up as the largest worldwide tribute ever paid a man. When plans for an outdoor observance fell through at the last moment, Father Vincent Connery opened Ghent's Sacred Heart Church to more than 300 Lennon fans. Here, as elsewhere, the memorial vigil was largely organized by local radio stations.
Just a few days ago, Yoko Ono asked that those who mourn the loss of her husband, John Lennon, observe a silent vigil to honor his memory. The time for that 10-minute meditation, 2 p.m. today, is just seconds away.
Afterwards, fans hugged and cried together, as if an embrace could sustain what everyone feared was now lost.
I don't think people realized how personally involved they were with the Beatles and John Lennon as a writer and a thinker and someone who helped them shape their values as they grew up, made them think, made them more aware. And they have to come to terms with it now. It's time to grow up. You know, the dream is over.
One local DJ this morning added his voice to the rising chorus, proclaiming John Lennon's death the end of an era. One could wonder whether that's the way the musical star would have wanted his passing to be recorded and remembered. Howard Jaffe, Area 10 Eyewitness News, Norfolk.